Random House Audio presents You Were Born for This. 7 Keys to a Life of Predictable Miracles by Bruce Wilkinson, as told to David Kopp. This is Bruce Wilkinson. Chapter 1. Where did all the miracles go? You were born to expect a miracle today. What if I told you I'm certain you missed a miracle yesterday? And not just any miracle, but one that heaven wanted to do through you, to significantly change someone's life for the better, maybe your own. I would understand if you were doubtful. But right alongside that doubt, most of us can identify a nearly universal experience. Almost everyone in the world, whatever their religious belief, can point to an event in their lives that seemed directly orchestrated by heaven, that seemed impossible to explain without using words like, "I can't believe what just happened. That was a miracle." We call these experiences divine coincidences, miracle moments, supernatural provisions. Whatever we call them, we tend to value such events so highly that we recount them over and over, often for years. "I'll never forget the time," we say. Or sooner or later, my daughter is going to tell you about. Why do we remember such events so clearly? I think it's because we feel that we have been touched by heaven. It's as if God Himself stepped through the curtain that separates seen from unseen, to make something wonderful happen for us, something only He could do. But here's the best part. In the experience, we hear a personal and unforgettable message from God. Something like, "I'm here. I care about you. I can do for you what you cannot do for yourself." Beginning with this near-universal experience, this book asks a few simple but intriguing questions. Why are these experiences of the miraculous so rare for most people? What if heaven actually wanted you to experience them on a regular basis? And what if ordinary people like you and I are invited to partner with God to deliver them to others? If these questions put a picture in your mind of people everywhere walking around expecting to be a part of God moments on a regular basis, you're not far wrong. A mysterious encounter. Let me tell you about a mysterious encounter I had in a restaurant outside Denver with a waiter named Jack. I call it mysterious because on the surface everything looks so ordinary. 5 friends at a table for 6, waiters coming and going, voices clatter, just what you'd expect in a busy restaurant. But by the time dinner was over, we all knew beyond a doubt that we'd been present for a divine appointment. It was as if God Himself had walked up and said, "Thank you for saving me a place. I've been wanting to do something for Jack." Here's what happened. During the course of the meal, Jack had served us well. But apart from the usual exchanges about the menu and our orders, we hadn't spoken much. Around the table, meanwhile, the conversation revolved around some of Jesus' more extreme teachings. Ones like, "Ask and you will receive," and "It's more blessed to give than receive." During the conversation, I felt unexpectedly nudged by heaven to try something I'd never done before. At the same time, I sensed it was meant to involve Jack. My test involved putting $300 at risk. Now, don't let the amount throw you. The money wasn't mine, and believe it or not, the person who was letting me carry it around was expecting me to give it away. But more about that in a later chapter. When Jack came to refill the water glasses, I posed a question. "Have you ever heard the saying, 'It's more blessed to give than receive'?" "Yes, I have," he said. "Do you believe it?" "Well, sure, I guess I do," he said, looking puzzled. "Good." I said, "I have an interesting opportunity for you." I placed $100 bill on the table. You have an unusual choice, Jack. You can either receive this $100 as a gift, not a tip." I paused. I definitely had Jack's attention, and the two couples with me didn't appear to be breathing. I looked at Jack, or you could say no to the money, and instead give each of us a dessert. But this would be you buying the dessert, not the restaurant, and you can't do both things, and there's no right or wrong. So what would you like to do? Give or receive? Jack just stood there holding the water pitcher. He asked twice if I was serious. Then finally he said, "I'll take the $100. True to my word, I handed him the bill. "Thank you," he said, and then he walked back to the kitchen. After he left and my friends had started breathing again, we all tried to figure out what had just happened. Was my unusual test about giving and receiving even fair? What was Jack thinking now, and what in the world was he saying to the crew in the kitchen? All the while I was feeling increasingly uncomfortable. You see, I had earlier slipped another $200 under my plate. If the waiter had chosen to buy us desserts and not take the 100, believing that it's more blessed to give than receive, I was going to give him the hidden $200. I had really hoped he would make the self-sacrificial choice because I'd strongly sensed that God wanted to encourage him with the larger sum. The next time he came around, I said, "I'm curious, Jack. Do you feel like you made the right choice?" "Absolutely," he said excitedly. "In fact, it was a miracle. You see, I'm a single dad." He pulled out his wallet and proudly showed us a photo of his 3-year-old son. "Isn't he something?" he said with a big smile. Then he explained his reaction. "I have to work 3 jobs during 4 days of the week, just so that I can take care of my son the other 3 days when my ex-wife works. But I'm having a tough time making ends meet. Just this morning, I had to mail my alimony check of $100 even though my account was down to 0. Driving to work this afternoon, I actually said, 'God, please, I need $100, and I need it tonight.'" Well, I was speechless, and so were my friends. How could we have known of our waiter's crisis, or of his prayer for $100? Then it was my turn to explain. I told that even if he decided to give instead of receive, I'd plan to give him the $100. But now that I know your story, I agree. You made the right choice. Suddenly I knew what needed to happen next. "You have to know, none of this money was mine," I told him. "The owner wanted me to pass it on as kind of a message to the right person, and I'm sure that person was you." I reached under the plate for the other 200. God wanted you to have the $100, and He wants you to have this too. What God thinks is normal. What just happened here? Let's break it down. Jack drove to work that evening to wait tables, but he brought with him a secret pressing need. I had come to Colorado from Atlanta on business and ended up having dinner with friends in Jack's restaurant. Unbeknownst to Jack or my friends, I was prepared to meet someone's financial need with money that wasn't mine. I'll explain more about that in Chapter 10. By the end of the evening, God had used one person to deliver something that met a big need for another person in a way that was clearly miraculous to everyone involved. You might react to what happened around the table differently. You might think, for example, "Well, I don't have a $100 bill lying around, and if I did, why would I give it to a stranger? For that matter, how would I figure out who to give it to?" We'll look closely at these reactions and more just like them in the pages ahead. You'll see, I promise, that God is just as likely to have plans for $5 or $20 as He is for $100, and that He never asks you or me to serve Him in a way that doesn't fit us personally and perfectly. For now, though, put yourself in the story of our dinner with Jack. Imagine how you would have felt leaving that table and knowing you had played an active role in delivering God's provision for a young man.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?